Now, if you look historically at the use of this plant as food, you'll find that it was utilized not only here in North America, but also Europe and Asia. In other words, many traditional cultures recognized its value for human health. In fact, many people have heard of the Adirondacks, which are a group of mountains in New York, so named after the Algonquin-speaking people that lived there. Adirondack is actually an anglicized version of a name Latilantac, and this was a name given to these natives by the Mohawk Indians, and it was actually a derogatory name, essentially meaning they eat bark or those who eat bark. Well, it turns out that this bark-eating habit was employed by a number of primitive cultures and had great benefit because of the nutrition and the antioxidants that were found in the pines that they consume. Not to mention that there are antibacterial and anti-inflammatory compounds that are also found in the leaves and inner bark of this species. In fact, it is still a practiced culture in some of the northern European communities where the bark of their species of pines are dried and ground into flour and added in small amounts back to the flour from grains that they use to make breads. And this stems from their use as pine bark as a food during times of scarcity. During the summer season, when they were logging, they would peel the bark from the trees and dry it in the rafters of their home. And if that fall there was a shortage in grains from the field, they would then make flour also from this bark that they had dried in the rafters and add it back in small portions. In other words, at a ratio of, say, 1 part pine flour to 10 parts grain flour, so that they could extend their stock of grain through the entire winter. Now, though many people feel that foraging is something that is best done during the growing season, those who are trying to emulate aspects of the hunter-gatherer lifestyle need to remember that the foraging doesn't stop when the snow and ice comes. In fact, some of the most nutritious plants that we can enjoy are available to us year-round, and members of the pine family fall into that category. And that includes pines, larches, spruces, hemlocks, and firs. In this part of the world, those 5 genera are very safe members of the pine family that we can enjoy as teas. Not only do we bring in nutrition in the form of amino acids and vitamins into our system, but we also pull in beneficial phytochemicals that can protect us from infection, as well cancer and some other debilitating diseases. To make a tea from eastern white pine or any other member of its family, it's very easy. It involves taking a palmful of the fresh leaves, and I like to rub them very vigorously in my palms to bruise the leaves so it's easier for the hot water to act as an extractive medium. And I pour boiling water over this volume of leaves and let it set for 15 or 20 minutes. You can do a shorter period of time if you like. The flavor is mild. It is not an overwhelming resin turpentine flavor as you might think if you have ever tasted the resin from the trees, but it's a very mild and very pleasant resin that also is very clearly suffused with a lemon type flavor from some very similar terpenes that occur in the citrus fruits that are also found in members of this family. Remember that while you're consuming these as part of your diet strategy, you're doing the world a tremendous favor, because instead of shipping in citrus fruits or fresh greens from various parts of the world, including California and South America, to here in the northeastern United States, you are simply taking control of your own health sovereignty and gathering what is on your landscape without needing to rely on petrochemicals to ship these around the world. And while you're thinking that you need fresh greens year-round, do remember that all of the traditional people that lived in northern cultures did not have access to greens for consumption. In fact, they had to rely on evergreens, some of the fruits that we find that persist on the plants through the season, as well as organ meats as their source of vitamin C. So for all those that have tuned in, and especially to those that have subscribed to my YouTube channel, I want to say thank you. And please remember that one of the best things that you can do for your health and your family's health, as well as for your self-sufficiency, which you can translate in many ways into meaning your freedom, is to learn how to conscientiously gather food from the wild landscape as the people who went before us did. And this involves learning how to identify and process wild plants, how to hunt and butcher wild animals, and also how to identify and harvest wild fungi. And please remember that while you're learning about these particular skills, do try to look into how the Aboriginal people of your area did so in a sustainable fashion, so that these resources will be there not only for you in the coming years, but for your children, your grandchildren, and all of those in the coming generations.